Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm beyond excited to bring on my amazingly talented and humble guest. He's been in The Walking Dead. He's been in franchises like Fortnite, Marvel's Avengers, recently in the Black Panther DLC. He's been on camera. He's done so many amazing projects, and he's beyond talented and an inspiration to me and so many others around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, can I please get a rounding round of applause for the amazing, the talented Dave Fennoy?
Whoa! And there we are. And I'm seeing all the messages scrolling over my face.
Oh,
It's all right. It's all right. It's all right.
if you want me to turn off the comments, I can do that.
No. I want to see the comments. That's cool. I want to say hello to everybody and all that good stuff. How you doing?
Okay. Good. How are you, sir? How are you?
Well, it's Friday, so I'm feeling pretty good. End of a good week. Of course, I'm also one of those people with the job I have. I can't wait for Monday so I can get up and go back to work again.
That's always a great feeling to have. Well,
oh yeah.
Before I get into the questions, I would just like to say it is a huge honor and a humbling experience to be able to speak to you today. I've been a huge fan of your work since I was a little kid, just watching you do your thing in video games, animation, and just your humble and kind nature is just so inspiring to me and so many others around the world. And just thank you so much. I am just really honored and humbled to bring such a legend on my show. So thank you again.
Wow. Well, I'm gonna have to call you every day so you can say that to me as my head gets bigger.
Oh, man. Some cool things that I found out about you that some fans might not know is that you left college to be a professional musician, later returning and graduating from Harvard University with a degree.
No, whoa. You said Harvard?
Yes.
No, Howard University.
Howard, oh my gosh.
Howard University. No,
Howard.
Did not go to the Ivy League. But Howard University is a historically black university, and it's a hell of a fine school, and I am just as proud to be Howard alumni as I would be to be Harvard alumni.
I can't believe I messed that up. I wrote it down and everything. I'm reading it. My gosh, my brain is all over the place. But you graduated there with a degree in jazz studies and a guitar minor. So what was that?
Well, I had been a musician for a while. My background had been actor, musician, performer. I've always, sometimes as a kid, you don't really know who you are, what you are, but you're doing things. And in retrospect, I could say I've always been an artist of one kind or another. My parents wanted to expose me to a variety of things so I could kind of figure out life. And growing up in Cleveland, the place to send you was A, to a better school than the Cleveland public schools, and B, to Karamu House, which was an art center in the hood. And, it was mostly us black folks going there, but I took modern dance and sculpture and painting and music and acting. And kept you off the streets, had you interested in doing something. I did my first plays there. I played trumpet for a while there, then picked up guitar, did a lot of plays there. So that by the time and I started pretty young, I was, 8 or 9 or 10, when they started. So by the time I got to high school, I had an interest in the arts. And when they sent me to Hawkins School for Boys, which I was one of the first black kids to go there, private school way out in the suburbs. It was a day school, so I didn't have to spend a night there, go through that kind of madness. And in ninth grade and on through high school, I involved myself in the Players Society, which is not like, we players, baby, but players like we are on stage. I became president of the Players Society in my senior year, and I wrote a couple of plays, which I don't even remember what they were all about anymore. I'm sure they're in a box someplace at my mother's old house. And starred in some plays and directed some plays. And when I first went off to college, I went as a theater major to McAllister College in St. Paul, Minnesota. But while I was there, I was playing music. I was on the football team. and having fun doing some other things. And after a year and a half or so, 2 years, I dropped out, went on the road as a musician for a while. Finally went back, as you mentioned, to Howard University, not Harvard, but Howard University, uh, a historically black college, one of the best known in the country, and was a jazz major study. Also got married while I was there, and ended up moving to California. And I was beginning to realize at that point, gee, maybe I'm not going to grow up to be a rock and roll star after all. I had at that point put all my eggs in the music basket. But I'd gotten married, had a kid, and this is 1980, moving to California. And my wife at the time was going to UC Berkeley, getting her PhD in botany. And I started a career in radio. I started knocking on the doors of radio stations in the Bay Area, and a couple of them opened. I did mornings after a few stints at KDIA, the boss of the Bay. KDIA, the boss of the Bay. And finally, a couple back and forths, I ended up doing mornings at KSOL, the number one music station in town. 107.7 KSOL, more music KSOL. And I was working under the name Billy David Ocean. When I first started at KSOL, that was the first station in the Bay Area. They had two Daves, Dave Gilton and Dave Padilla, on the news staff. And Dave Padilla, for those who may be in the Bay Area, you heard him for years on KSOL, and then on KCBS radio. I think he has retired now. He is still one of my very dearest friends in the world, and just a great guy. But they said, we don't need another Dave. So I got the name, I was dubbed Billy Ocean. And after I'd been on the radio for a while, suddenly this singer comes along named Billy Ocean. And I got tired of the phone calls. You know, you're in the studio, you're answering the phone. It's KSOL, how you doing? It's Billy Ocean, what can I do for you? And they said, yeah, Billy, you know, I like your record, Caribbean Queen. I said, well, that's not me. That's another guy named Billy Ocean. Well, how can there be two people named Billy Ocean? I said, well, what's your name? Fred Johnson. Well, Fred, do you think someplace on the planet there's somebody named Fred Johnson other than you? Yes! So ultimately, I ended up inserting my real first name in there, Billy David Ocean, and finished out my career that way. But in 1990, January 9th, 1990, a day that will live in infamy. As radio stations are wont to do, they fired the whole staff. And since I was a morning guy, I got fired first. So you came in, you did your shift, and as it ended, the general manager wants to see you in his office. And you go in, they give you your severance money. Thank you, bye-bye. And that went on all day. But I'd started studying voiceover by that point. And an agent from down here in Los Angeles had given me her card after I'd taken a weekend workshop with her, Lee Gilbert, and she's still around. And she said, you know, you're pretty talented. If you ever decide to come to LA, we'd like to represent you. The agency was Sutton Barth and Venari, one of the top agencies in town here in Los Angeles. I didn't know quite how lucky I was at the time, you know, because when she gave me the card, it was like, oh yeah, well, you know, I'm the morning jock on the number one station in town. Yeah, I'll check this out at some point. Thank you very much. But when I got fired, I was like, well, damn, I know that card is someplace here. I gotta find it. Found the card. She said, yeah, I was serious. Put together a new demo and come on down. So I did that. And I started commuting back and forth between Los Angeles and San Francisco. And I did that for about 8 or 9 months. I would drive down to Los Angeles at 350 something miles every either Sunday night or Monday morning, and drive back on Friday night or Saturday morning. Um, and I'm telling you that because a lot of times people are trying to do something in their life, but they don't want to change anything in their life. And anything that you want to do, you got to change something. If you keep doing exactly what you're doing, you're going to get exactly what you've been getting. So I did that for about 8, 9 months. Um, but I started working. I was on some cartoons. I was doing some TV promos for a few places, doing some commercials. And finally, I was able to move my family down. Bought a little house in Pasadena. Well, actually, it was Altadena, but Pasadena adjacent. And the rest is history. Now, I've talked long enough. I know you got a question.
No. I love it. I love it. It's just, I love doing these because I just get to know the backstory and the history behind everything. And history is my favorite subject, so I can listen to you talk forever.
Wow, mine too. And you know what's funny? People ask me sometimes, well, if you weren't doing voiceover, what would you be doing? And I think I'd probably be a history professor someplace.
History is such an interesting subject. Like, I would never slack in my history class, like assignments on time. Every other class, no. But history, I was on the mark.
But few things in life actually are more interesting than history because it's really the story of we human beings through time and all the wonderful things we did and all the terrible things we did and everything in between.
That's something I'm going to major in when I get into college. It's coming soon. All my teachers throughout my years in school were just like, Josh was the top history student, got 100 on this test, but I always brag to my mom. She'd be like, I know. Well,
I just saw one go by from Zonky Y. Wasn't Lee a history professor? He was. And it's interesting playing Lee Everett. It was such a character that was so close to who I am anyway. Of course, I didn't kill my ex-wife and her lover, although I did divorce. And I had never lived through a zombie apocalypse and had to take care of an 8-year-old girl. But the history professor thing, the interest in that, had that in common. And I love my daughter. And that's how I grabbed onto that role and who that guy was. I just thought about what would it be like if I was trying to take care of my daughter in all of this.
We're definitely going to get into The Walking Dead. Of course, such an amazing role that you portrayed and just such an emotional moment for me and probably for you as well, just with everything going on in the game show. What's crazy is I first played the game and then years later I watched the TV show, which is crazy how that worked because my mom was a huge fan of the TV show. She would always try to get me to watch it, and I'd always be like, maybe some other time. But then the game came out. I just fell in love with it, just playing it. My mom fell in love with it. It's just such a great experience and a great video game that will, of course, stand the test of time, in my opinion.
Well, it's funny that the stars aligned on that. It was a great show. It was a great concept. And Telltale Games had been doing narrative games for a while, and this was the one that really put them over the top. Of course, they're not really here anymore. They got over the top and later down the line did some crazy things and ended up kind of messing up their company. But this was the highlight of the life of Telltale Games. I know some people know because I've mentioned it before. They had hired somebody else to play Lee Everett. Yeah. I got an email from my agent that said, "Oh, listen, we got this audition. They need it back fast. They want something that's very real." And they gave me the backstory. College professor found his wife cheating, killed her and the lover, going off to prison, thinks his life is over, and then the zombie apocalypse actually frees him. So I did the audition, and one of the things I noticed was, a lot of times in video games, we're playing crazy characters with wild voices, or crazy voices, whatever kind of voices you were doing. And this, they just wanted me. They just wanted my voice, very natural, very real. and which was kind of refreshing. And I sometimes, as an actor, actors will know this. Sometimes you just kind of get a character. It's like you see the words, and you're like, oh, I understand who this character is. And sent in the audition a week later. They said, well, you got the role, and you'll start recording in a few weeks. And we were recording up in the Bay Area. I was living in Los Angeles like I am now. And they would fly me up to Oakland, and then they'd pick me up and take me to the studio, which was, 30, 40 miles away in Marin County, a little town called Fairfax. The town was about, 8 blocks long by 5 blocks wide, and yet had about 5 bars that had live music every night. It was an old hippie town. And the guy running the studio there, he's no longer with us, Jory Prune, was killed after having a motorcycle accident. Just a great guy. But we recorded every word of The Walking Dead game season 1 in his little studio in Fairfax. First 20 minutes of recording that this was something special. I didn't know how special, but I knew it was really special. And the cast that was assembled was just amazing. Well, that was strange.
I know. I was like, what happened? Yeah, so, okay. Whoa.
Hey,
okay.
Technology, when it works, great. And then it doesn't.
My exact thoughts on it. Gosh, I hate when that happens. Okay, so you were talking about The Walking Dead and recording Fairfax.
In the first 20 minutes of recording, I knew this was something special. I didn't know that we were going to win 100 Game of the Year awards, that I was going to be nominated for Best Performance in a Video Game like 6 or 7 times, that I'd get to go to London. I was nominated for a BAFTA, the British Academy of Film and Television Arts Awards. I didn't win, but I did discover what those actors mean who have been nominated for Grammys and Oscars. Grammys, that's not actors, that's musicians. But Emmys and Oscars, that it is an honor just to be nominated. But I did win a Machinima Award for Best Performance and a DICE Award for Best Performance. So, and wow, it put me on the map in video games in a way I hadn't been before. I had already been in a lot of video games, but that game, it's like you are the actor who has won an Oscar or nominated for an Oscar, and now instead of, oh yeah, it's that character actor I like, oh, he's really good in everything, to, oh, that's so-and-so. So it will always be, the Walking Dead game, that will always have a very special place in my heart. And the character Lee Everett, man. And I remember in the 3rd episode, we were recording it, and they told me in the middle of it, oh, by the way, next episode he gets bit and dies in the last episode. I'm like, you're gonna kill him off? Come on, man. But had Lee not died, the story just wouldn't have been the same. It just wouldn't have been the same. It wouldn't have made you and every other person who has played that game and is watching now cry like a baby when Lee and Clem had to say goodbye.
I remember that. I was like, gosh, I was in tears a lot. That's such, and it was acted so well, and it's really crazy when I hear that, all the time when voice actors do video games, it's by themselves, but y'all's talent is so top tier that it feels like y'all in the same room with one another, and you guys really brought the ante with that. I guess that could lead into my question is, how did acting come into your life?
Well, like I said, as a kid, I started acting as a child in Cleveland, growing up in Cleveland at Caramoo House. And as a matter of fact, every black actor on TV that grew up in Cleveland went to Caramoo. I mean, there are just so many black stars from that part of the world that went through there. So that was how I got started acting. Um, but if anybody had told me that, oh, one day you're going to be well known as an actor in video games, well, they didn't exist at the time. How could have I ever imagined? As a matter of fact, when I started my voiceover career, video games as we know them, I mean, we had Pong and other things. There were a few video games that had some characters in them, but they typically were not being voiced by actual actors. This was a time when, oh, we got this video game. We got an old guy. Didn't your dad retire? Can we get him in here? We just need an old guy to play a part. We need a woman in here. Oh, secretary's on her lunch. Get her in here. We've come a long way in every aspect of video games. I was just doing a job on a game that I could tell you what it is, but then I'd have to kill everybody or myself. But working at a studio that's their specialty. And I've worked on and off with them over the years. Of course, not much last year thanks to the pandemic. But the technology for video games is getting so good. Of course, we know about mocap. I put on the black suit. I've done a few of those. They always do something crazy to my hair to get it out of my way. Beyond mocap, they're doing video games in smaller stages where still you don't have to necessarily memorize the words. What you're reading are on big screens, but they've got facial capture. So you're still moving around, you're still looking here and there, but the words are over there, so you don't necessarily have to have them memorized. And the kinds of microphones that are being used now, theater microphones. Ordinarily, if you're in a studio, like my studio right next door to me here, I'm sitting in my office right now, it's me, a microphone, and words on a page, well, in my case, on a screen. And what we have to replace as actors is everything else. Got a buddy of mine, English director I work with sometimes, who says the words are the exhaust of the acting engine. And for those who are wanting to be voice actors in video games, it's all the other things that come first. Our bodies inform our voices. Voiceover lesson 101, if you want to sound like you're smiling, put a smile on your face and suddenly you sound like you're smiling. Why? Because you are. There's things we do as humans. If you're trying to remember something, you kind of do that, let's see, like looking up. If you want to sound like you're a little more important, stand up a little straighter. If you want to sound like you're, feeling a little down, then you just, kind of put yourself down, and there it is. So we're doing everything we can to bring more reality of that human experience to acting in video games. Where we're not quite on camera, we're not quite on stage, but we're someplace in the middle.
Voice acting, in particular, is such an interesting side of the acting industry, just how y'all act, or the way y'all portray things, the way y'all study, the way you take care of y'all's voices. I see a lot of similarities between music and voice acting, just because like how well you have to take care of your voice and things and warm-ups you have to do to get ready to portray the voice and make it as loud as you can. So how did voice acting get introduced to you? Because I know you said you originally came for theater and such like that.
Well, it's funny. It was kind of a forest for the trees kind of thing. It was always there. And then at some point, it was just, there's in my face. When I was trying to get into radio in Northern California, when I first moved to Northern California, we're talking 1980. And I had a job at a radio station there, but I wasn't on air yet. I had the job of continuity director. I was a guy that made sure the right commercials played at the right time. And I wrote commercials for our local salespeople when they went out and got, oh yeah, I got Joe's store over here that wants to do a commercial. Well, I was the one that would write the commercial for Joe's store. And I was doing voices and whatnot for things, but I wasn't thinking of it as a career. It was just, oh yeah, they need a voice for this. I'll do this. Then one day, the morning guy was leaving as I was coming to work, and we were kind of friends. Hey, how you doing? Where are you going? He goes, oh, I'm going over to the city to do some voiceover work. Station was in Berkeley, and he was going over to San Francisco. And then he said, I make more money doing that than I do on the radio. And a little light bulb went off. I said, voiceover work? What's that? And he goes, commercials, the promos they do for TV shows, cartoons, that kind of stuff. And it was like a light bulb went off. And he gave me a 5-minute spiel. Well, you need to get an agent, and to get an agent, you got to get a demo together, and the demo would have this on it, and so forth and so on. And I was excited. Now, I wasn't excited enough to do anything about it for about 2 years, because I was already on the program. Let's get Dave Fennoy on the radio. And so I got on the radio, but the idea of it never left me. And after a couple of years, I started taking some classes. I started getting some clients. I was a voice of Marine World Africa USA and their concert series. I did a number of California lottery commercials early on in when that first came, and lots of other little things. But I kept taking lessons, and which led up to when I met Lee Gilbert in that weekend class, where she handed me her card and said, yeah, if you ever decide to come to LA, we'd like to represent you. And ta-da!
Voice acting, that's an interesting story to have. You just kind of start from music and DJing. How would you say that DJing has helped you, when you look back on it, has helped you grow as a voice actor, or has helped you as an actor?
Well, when I first started studying voice acting, one of the things that was always mentioned was, oh, if you're a disc jockey, you've been ruined. Because when you're a disc jockey, you learn to talk like this. You find that spot in your voice and you make everything sound so good and groovy and hip. And that's kind of what you're doing. But that's not who we believe for our commercials, it's not a great, well, it can be a great character, but if you're trying to do that all the time, you're not able to play a bunch of different characters. You have to realize that in itself was a character you were playing. So a lot of people in radio get in the habit of just giving the words a song. And you can come on down right now and save 50% if you get here before 10 o'clock. Remember, the number is 555-1234. It's right off the 405 freeway. We don't believe that guy. And you have learned how to do that. And in your head, that's what sounds good. And it's a muscle that you have beefed up every day on the radio for years. And finding a way to do something else. I always tell my students that they're trying to overcome that. Look, I don't want you to lose that. I just want you to be able to do something else. I want you to be able to find a more real place in your heart. I remember I was doing promos for ABC, and that's one of the steps out of radio into voiceover is promo, because in promo you're still selling those shows. And tonight at 9, it's so and so and such and such. But I was doing promos for ABC, and Gary Owens, the late great Gary Owens, a lot of you won't remember Laughing and shows like that from the 70s, 60s, 70s. But he was the comedy voice, or one of the comedy voices for ABC. He was that guy that you saw like this. Hi, this is Gary Owens. Well, when you talk to Gary Owens, he'd been on radio all his life. Nicest guy in the world, but hey, Gary Owens, how are you? Dave Fennoy, nice to meet you. Hi, Dave, nice to meet you too. Wow, you got some nice pipes there, guy. Good luck in it. He was that, and I kept thinking, now when he's making love to his old lady, is he like, ooh, baby, that feels so good. Ooh, oh, go on and tickle him down there. But I'm sorry. Did I mess somebody up? Uh,
Oh,
right turn or left turn or crash.
yeah, I was not expecting that.
So anyway, to finally answer your question, there are some things you can timing, rhythm, being able to read copy quickly, that kind of thing. You can learn, but you have to unlearn or you have to learn how to let go of I'm just making up a song to get these words across and really connect with what you're saying and who you're talking to.
Being in this industry for so long, you always learn things and grow and change, not just with acting, but as a person, as people, we learn new things every day and want to be a better version of ourselves all the time. That's at least something we should strive towards. How would you say you've grown as an actor, some things that you've learned that have helped make you a better actor than you were when you first started?
Well, one, you got to keep your ego in check and realize that no matter how much money you're making, that's not the only measure of your success. I like the fact that I do well financially, but I really am about the art. I really am about uh, who are these characters and bringing the truth of them. One of the things we have to be careful of as actors is what our intentions are. I tell students all the time, your intention should be to play this particular character honestly. Not, oh, I want to do this different than anybody else does it. You're going to do that anyway because you're you and the uniqueness that we all have in ourselves. But as long as you focus on, I'm going to play this character, I'm really going to let this character come through me in a way that I believe it. So that other people will believe it. Then all those other things that you want to happen, like I'm getting booked, I'm making money, I'm getting to meet other great actors. All those things will come from that one commitment to playing these characters honestly. The question you want to ask yourself is not, does it sound good, but do I believe the character? When you can do that, you're going to find success.
I interviewed Rob Paulson a week ago, and he talked about that too. Just like
one of the nicest guys in the biz.
So, gosh, he was so nice and very complimentary of the stuff I was doing. And I just remember him talking about, like, you know, the acting comes first, and then after that, everything will come later.
Absolutely.
And it makes so much sense because we tend to, sometimes we do things for the wrong reasons, even though, you know, we love the art. I was talking to one of my friends, and he was like, you know, he's making something. He was just talking so much about money. I was like, whoa, wait, hold on, wait a second. What's going on here? And he was just talking to me about it. And I was like, bro, if you're really doing this for the greed, for the money, you're going to make an awful product and something that's not great. You know, your desperation is going to show in the product or whatever you're trying to make, or whatever you're trying to convey.
Oh, it's so true. You really have to be careful of what's on your mind when you're auditioning. If what's on your mind is, ooh, I got to book this, that's coming through your read. If what's on your mind is, gee, I got to pay these bills, that's coming through your read. If you're jealous of some other actor or something, all of that, you really got to be careful of what you allow to go on in this. And stuff just goes by. I bet everybody who's listening now has had a thought at one time or another, a little thought, oh, I should kill myself. But most of the time we reject that thought. We don't hang on to it. And we have thoughts, like negative thoughts, that go by every time. You know, you're driving along and that person that doesn't look like you in the next lane cuts you off or something, or they're going too slow or they're going too fast. And there's that, you know, that poison that's in us that says, that doggone insert group here. Well, you don't have to go there. You have the power to make the decision for, you know what? That's not who I'm going to show up as. That's not who I'm going to be. As opposed to hang on to that thought and become that. And we have to fight that all the time. the best people, the good people, it isn't that they don't have some poison in them that could turn them bad, is that they reject that poison. It's not just, oh, I'm good, so I don't do anything bad. And we all make mistakes, so I can't say I'm perfect, but it's rejecting the evil that's speaking to us. There's something really there about those two little voices. Oh, I got that devil over here, and that, and the old Indian story or Native American story, that inside each of us there are two wolves, or a wolf and a dog, and one, whichever one you feed is the one that's going to control you, the one that's going to take over. So you don't want to feed that anger. You want to feed that love.
I couldn't have said that any better. One thing I struggled with throughout my life is whenever a negative thought or something came across my mind, I try so hard not to think about it and just like veer off. You're like driving in the car and then something comes up, you're like, and you turn the real quick. And that's always something I've struggled with, but it is true. Like, we're always going to have weird or messed up thoughts, or just like things that we don't want to think about come across our mind that we don't want to think about and we don't want to feed. And it's important to remember that even though you're going to have those thoughts, that's not you, that's not who you are.
Yeah.
What
and
makes you
we're gonna be sad sometimes we're gonna be angry, we're gonna be sad, we're not gonna be happy all the time, but by the same token, you won't know the level of true joy and contentment in your life without having gone through some of those negative things. But rise above it. And it's trite and true. Treat people as you want to be treated. The old golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It's so simple, but it is, I think, the ultimate battle in humanity.
Couldn't agree more. Now I want to switch over to just talking more about The Walking Dead. I'm seeing a ton of Walking Dead fans here.
Oh yeah, I saw somebody from South America, and comments about Kenny. I love Kenny.
And The Walking Dead has just been such an amazing thing that has enriched my life and enriched so many others' lives. I remember you told a story about this child with autism, and the mother told you that your voice helped calm them down and soothe them. And I mean, that is insane. I don't know how I'd feel if someone told me that. I just think I wouldn't believe it, because it's just like something so simple that you do all the time. You've done voices for games all the time, cartoons, promos, this, that, and the third. It's so crazy to just think about that piece of art you've done has really touched someone's lives and really enriched it.
Well, for me, it underscores the importance of art in our lives. I have an older sister. She's a doctor. From the time she was 3 years old, she wanted to be a doctor. I always wanted to be an entertainer of some kind. I always felt like, well, she's doing the important work, I'm having fun. Well, the truth is, she loves what she does. She has fun doing what she's doing, and she saves lives. It took me a while until I started going to conventions and meeting people who would come up and be in tears, or just want to hug me, or tell me how much a character I played meant to them, or how it changed, or how Lee Everett was a substitute daddy, or because I didn't have a father, I watched Lee Everett in the Walking Dead game, and it helped make me a better father because I didn't have a father, or that young autistic boy who, when he would have an episode and he'd be crying, she'd play my voice, and that would calm him down. It's humbling. It's truly humbling. But to be able to know that something I do in my life affects people in a positive way that I may never meet. Wow.
Well, let's just talk about that for a little bit. With the voice, when you originally auditioned, did you do anything extra? And they were like, no, we just want you, or was it always,
No, well, we all do our auditions from home these days, and even at that time, we're talking about 2012. I still had a home studio, so I was doing it from home. The one thing that they said was, "Hey, this is a regular guy. We don't want to put on voice. We want somebody who is a little bit Southern, but he's a college professor and he's a real person. Play him as a real person." So I just adopted the thoughts and the heart, but it was my voice.
Yeah, and you can genuinely tell there's not a whole lot of difference between your voice and his, and just what you brought to the character is just so amazing. There's so many great moments in the Walking Dead video game, just the moments and a ton of decisions, and that can lead to my next question is, what is it like having to record all those different lines for different things that players do? I mean, this wasn't your first Telltale game. The next one you did was, I think it was either Minecraft or the Batman Telltale game. So you've done this.
I think Minecraft came first, and then Batman. But this is the nature of video games now, that we have playable characters, and a player gets to decide what a character says or does, and that changes the story. Which, when you think about it, for the first time in human history, we're talking, thousands and thousands and thousands of years of human storytelling, from when the caveman, the mastodon I killed was that big, man. No, he wasn't that big. That was a baby mastodon. But telling those kinds of stories around the campfire through everything else, Aeschylus and plays of the ancient Greeks and operas and Shakespeare, the audience sat there and, that's wonderful, or, ooh, that sucked. But now the audience gets to be a part of the storytelling. The audience, and this is the first time we're talking about in everybody's lifetime here. We're talking about something that's 25, 30 years old, maybe. So this is brand new, that the audience gets to drive the story as well. It's an amazing change in the art, in theater, in performance now. They talked about it with movies. Oh, we'll have this little button and people will push it, and however many the most people do, that's the way the story will go. Well, but it was video games where this has really come to life, and they ain't going nowhere. Video games are only going to get better. People my age typically don't know jack about video games. I probably only know jack about video games because I'm in the industry. But your generation, you guys are going to be playing video games forever. And even when you're working and have a family, the video games are going to adjust to allow you to have the time to play. So maybe you won't spend 8 hours, I gotta get to the next level and what. But, you'll be playing, the Walking Dead game was part of that. Episodic. You could play the game in about 2 hours. And then you wait, oh, damn, when's the next episode coming out? We've got binge watching TV shows. Maybe there'll be some binge watching episodic video games coming along. Binge playing.
I mean, the sky's the limit with everything going on. We have so many technological advancements, things changing even in the gaming sphere, animation.
Virtual reality.
Yes, VR is getting huge now. I mean, I can't even imagine what it's going to be like. Because it's a fairly new thing, VR is. I can't imagine what it's going to be like 10, 20 years down the line. Like, our whole room is just converted into us standing in the scene. And
your kids, you ain't going to understand your kids. They're going to be doing that virtual, what's wrong with these little whippersnappers? Because their world is going to be completely different. Just like your world is different from your parents. My world was different from mine. And technology is moving faster and faster. We are doubling and tripling the information available astronomically.
What is one of your fondest memories recording as Lee, or one of your favorite possibilities with the character?
The memory that I have is when I was recording the goodbye between Lee and Clementine. And as an actor, you if you're supposed to be crying, you can make the sounds. You can, but when I went into that session, I really did cry. I really did. They were videotaping, by the way, and so there are videotapes of it out there. Got me grown ass Dave Fennoy crying. Uh, because and there were so many mixed emotions. One, this was a character I loved that we would record every couple of months or so. So I had been with this character for a while. This game had come to mean the world to me in terms of the kind and level of work I was able to do with this video game. We're talking, 12, 1,300 lines per episode. And then the rewrites, and then other additional lines that would be added. So you might be hitting 2,000 lines in an episode, but that goodbye between Lee and Clem, even though she wasn't there, all I had was the lines. The mix of emotions I had about being the character, and this is probably going to be the last recording of him that I'm doing, and the gifts that Lee Everett as a character gave to me, I was bawling pretty hard. I was bawling pretty hard. And they caught it all, and that performance, those real tears, that real crying is in the game.
My goodness, I just want to hug you now talking about that scene. I guess so. That's insane. I can't imagine what it must have been like to be with this character. I mean, I probably would have assumed that you thought you'd be with this character for quite a long time. There's 5 seasons.
Well, I found out in episode 3 while we were recording it that he was going to get killed off. But even after that, for years, even now, every now and then, I get comments from fans who want to figure out how could we bring Lee back. We need to get Lee back. Maybe it was a dream sequence. Maybe she shot but she missed, and but he was out long enough that the zombie juice was nullified, or maybe he comes back half human, half zombie. People went nuts trying to figure out how can we have Lee back.
There's a ton of crazy theories out there for any character. You probably played how to make you come back as that character. I know Lee came back in as dream sequences in season 2, if I'm correct. And how did that feel to come back after you thought this character died? You were crying in the session and stuff like that.
Oh, a chance to revisit Lee Everett, a chance to play him again. Oh man, it was fantastic.
Yeah, and so grateful that this character has lasted for so long. I mean, like you said, you get comments about Lee all the time. I mean, people even in the feed here are talking about Lee. I always hear about Lee Everett when it comes to Dave Fennoy. Automatically, when you think they think Lee Everett. And then,
by the way, I'm sorry to interrupt, but Skybound is about to drop. Well, they've got the game that came out, the special edition, but they're about to drop a little sculpture you can get of Lee Everett and Clem.
So, are you gonna get it?
They told me they're gonna send me one, but they're just getting finished up now, and I just got that word last week, and I'm glad I remembered. So you might want to reach out to Skybound or Google Lee Everett Clem statue or Walking Dead video game statue, because they're going to be available shortly.
Can't wait. Lee, you said that Lee was, in most of the interviews, and you've mentioned that Lee was very much a turning point for your career and just how it's affected your life. Obviously, actors talk about how characters have changed their life or have changed their perspective on themselves as a person. What has Lee shown about yourself?
Well, I think it showed the video game world that I could play a very real character. Up until that point, I was playing, and I still play a lot of those characters that are otherworldly or super badass, or in some other voice and accent. But that let the world know that Dave Fennoy can play a character with just Dave Fennoy's face and touch you, or just Dave Fennoy's voice, and really touch you. That I'm an actor beyond just being able to do crazy voices.
Obviously, you've done so many characters since Lee that have just been freaking stellar. And the one character I want to talk to you about, as a huge Star Wars fan, is I want to talk to you about Pong Krell.
General Pong Krell.
That character was so well written, and most fans, when they think about the best arc of the show, there've been multiple arcs. There's been the Order 66 arc. There's been arcs all over the place. They consider that the number one top of the top cream of the crop Star Wars The Clone Wars arc is that
Ooh,
one.
really? Really?
Okay,
let me call my agent. Tell him that.
No, because I talk to my friends who are other Star Wars fans, and always at the top. Of course, with the newer season, they put what's the arc called? It's called they're going back to Mandalore and getting the Darksaber back. They put that up top because it's fantastic. But always under that Umbar arc, and the writing was so well done, and this character has lived in my mind for years because of just how much I hated that character. I never liked Pong Krell when he came in to talk to Anakin about you have to go, I'll take over this one. And you saw just Captain Rex, and you saw the immediate switch. He was like, stand up straight, stop talking to me like that. And he called him by his clone trooper number. I was like, he's gotta go. I don't know how. He's gotta go. And then with the twist where we find out that he's been plotting and putting the clones against, just so well done. But before we dive deep into that amazing writing with a character you did so well with, what was your history with the Star Wars franchise before even coming on as Pong Krell?
Well, I played the Lando Calrissian in an earlier game. One of the toughest jobs I ever did was a Lucas game, pod racer game. I'm Troy Dampner and 2 or 3 other pod racers. And this is before they were trying to take care of actors' voices. At a 5-hour session, the whole thing was in Huttese, the language of Jabba the Hutt, and it was all shouted because you're in a race, and it's the sound of all those vehicles going, and you're shouting over. And first I did it and you have your script and it's in Huttese, and then what you're saying in English over here. And the director, I think it was Dave Filoni, the director knew Huttese. And this was one of my first forays into video games and doing something so crazy. 5-hour session, shouted the whole thing. And the first one, just me and Huttese. The next one, they say, well, this one, do with a Jamaican accent, man. Take him to the island. So we're doing it in Huttese with this accent, man. And then the next one, just make him a homeboy. So we're doing it in Huttese, but we're adding a homeboy feel to it. And after that 5-hour session, the next day, I lost my voice. And I was supposed to do and announce for ESPN a game show. At the end of the week, couldn't do it, had to cancel. And that guy has never hired me again. Ken Fuchs produces a million shows, has never hired me again because I had to let him down.
Dang.
But, it's interesting. Since Pong Krell, I haven't had anything from the Star Wars world. I keep knocking on the door and, hey, just tell them, look, they need Dave Fennoy. They need Dave Fennoy on Star Wars, more Star Wars, or Clone Wars, the new Star Wars things that are coming out. Yeah, give me a shot, man. I could play the characters.
I would love to see you back, and of course, no, yeah, you came back for Rebels for an episode as a stormtrooper and some sort of side character. It was
Yeah,
really cool.
but just small little things.
I know what you mean. Yeah, come back is cool, and I'm just so excited with the direction of Star Wars and the Bad Batch. Maybe you can come back for like a Bad Batch episode of season 2 because that got announced.
I would love to. One of the great things about my career is I've been able to be a part of just about every major franchise in one way or another. I just want to keep that going.
Of course, with being in so many major franchises, you've worked with so many talented and amazing actors, and of course, the clones are voiced by the amazing D. Bradley Baker. Every single last one. What was it like watching him work and working with him in those scenes in the show?
Well, D is a consummate professional. I mean, he just shows up and he does his thing, and um, he makes it look easy, which is what, when you're good at it, you do. He has a million voices in his head, and those voices come with good acting behind them. He is. We actually got to work together on the Clone Wars. In animation, a lot of times you are ensemble. So we were working side by side a lot doing those scenes. And he's a very giving actor. He's playing the part, I'm playing the part, and we're bouncing off of each other. We're getting that energy. And it's just, I have nothing but respect and admiration for him. We're friends. I wish we could spend more time together. He has a family, I have a family, so we don't, the times we get to spend together are when we're working together or at a convention. Which is kind of true with a lot of us voice actors, but nothing but love for D. Bradley Baker.
Just his work as the clones is just, I don't know how
Phenomenal.
he does it. I really don't know
Phenomenal.
how he does it. It's one of the best. D. Bradley Baker is a fantastic voice actor. Actor in general is just a phenomenal actor. But just specifically with the Umbara arc and how he just brought it, playing off of you and bouncing off of your character when they had scenes together. And when he was yelling at Captain Rex, you could really tell that D was just like playing it well, and you guys were next to each other. And I just love ensemble records. Just when you're with the actual talent, you guys have like actually met or worked together. It's just, I love that because you guys can really, you could really feel the energy through the screen. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And we don't really get to do that much in video games. We're almost always working solo in video games.
Right, yeah, and that's one thing that I get because someone explained it to me that you guys do effects like when you're getting punched or like when you're getting choked like something like stuff
Well,
like that.
we call them efforts, the noises that a character makes other than words. So if you're gonna get hit in the face, gonna get hit in the belly, you get shot, you die, you gotta lift something heavy, you're gonna jump, you gotta land, and it's just part of the business and what we do. I teach a lot. I teach voice acting for video games and voiceover in general. But it's one of the most fun things, teaching how to do efforts. What's it like when you have to burn to death? And you gotta, be right there. Jump right in.
I remember I was watching. They were doing a behind the scenes for Mortal Kombat, and there's a lot of things we get burned in. I remember the scenes where they're like portrayed just like the burn. It's like, like that's so funny to me, so funny. But to turn back to Pong Krell, what do you think has made Pong Krell such like a long lasting character in terms of Star Wars fans' minds?
Well, one, he was very well written, and I don't know who the actor is, but he was fantastic.
I agree.
Just the kind of, he is the he's the typical Star Wars villain. He was so badass. He's a Jedi and a traitor. and his story, or he'd been a hero before, and although you didn't like him, you didn't know right away what he was up to. Um, and then they killed him mid-speech.
One of the clones
I'm
shot him in his
like, oh, you
back.
gonna kill me mid-speech? I gotta die in the middle of my speech. Come on, who wrote this stuff? Can we get a rewrite, actually?
I remember that scene when Pong Krell dies. It's a very satisfying scene for me as a fan because the clones are a big part of the Clone Wars, and when like someone comes for the clones, I'm like, all right, you gotta go, and then a clone killed them. He was so manipulative, and his just
Oh yeah.
traits were just so well. Like you said, it just goes back to that fantastic writing of how he was written and how we were made to have sort of a distaste for him because of the way he treated the clones to a hate because he did all of this, like he orchestrated all of this. And even in the episode, they said that Pong Krell has a high clone death count. Like even though he wins and is a hero, clones die by like that. Like they go out
Well,
like flies.
he never really thought of the clones as living things. They were to be used as needed and discarded otherwise.
Do you, even though Pong Krell is like this evil Star Wars villain, do you think he had any redeemable traits about him?
Wow. Well, I think everybody has something redeemable about them. It's more often than not, it's foreshadowed by their evil. But I think he was good at what he did. He was smart. But, we're not going to remember any of his kindnesses. Not that they're portrayed, but when we think about people, somebody that comes to mind, Bill Cosby, who the memory of Bill Cosby now is that he doped a bunch of women and raped them. But the full story of Bill Cosby is so much more than that, and there's so many wonderful things that he did that are tainted now. And it's one of the toughest things I think about being a human being, is sometimes how we weigh somebody's good with their mistakes. And I'm not saying he didn't get what he deserved, but we're kind of in a culture now where people have to be careful. I think of the number of people who have had a position here or there, and they've gone back 10 or 15 years, or even look at their childhood and something that they did, and now they're going to be canceled for something they did when they weren't grown yet. And often I can think of some things that I did, some things that I said when I was a much, much younger man, that I'm not that person anymore. Haven't been in years and years and years. It would, I know I would feel it was unfair to me to bring up something I might have said in high school. Now, when my entire being is different on whatever that subject might have been. So I think once again, as humans, we have to really be careful about how we weigh these stories of something somebody said or did these many years ago. Who are they really showing up as now?
Perfect. I agree with that. In some instances, it's like, yeah, that was extremely messed up and good, they get what they deserve. But when it comes to what you're talking about, like looking at something they might have said a while ago, or bringing up something from their past, it's just so. I don't like that, because you're right. We all change. I mean, we all have said or done things that we don't like. Shoot, I got a couple skeletons in my closet from some things I said when I was younger. We all do.
There's nobody walking these streets that doesn't have something in their closet that, if it came up now, and it might not even be something you remember, or if it was something in passing on one particular day, you were in a bad mood and gave somebody the finger or something, or what. But now that it's out, and especially these days with all the video cameras we have on all our phones and whatnot, you've got to be extra careful. And then, of course, now that we also have software that can change up who you are and put words in your mouth and that kind of thing, you really have to be careful.
That's deep fake technology is so cool, but also can be very scary. What do you think?
You know what? It's more scary to me than anything.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Because unfortunately, all too often it's in the wrong hands. It's in the hands of the propagandists that want you to believe something untrue about somebody. They want you to believe they said this thing that perhaps they didn't say. And in the cancel culture we have now, wow, that's going to make problems for somebody. And how do we find out when it's a fake? As a matter of fact, we've got, I'm not going to mention names, Fox, but we've got so-called news stations that their whole thing is, well, let's program these people not to know the truth. And if we don't like the truth, we'll make up our own. It's just not true that your ignorance is just as good as somebody's knowledge. We have to believe the people who actually are doing the work, the science around things, or at least take their words deeply under advisement. When you start looking at these people who are taking horse medicine for COVID now, they're willing to just take the word of some yahoo out there when you've got doctor after doctor after doctor after doctor and Fauci, who has been doing this for, 40 years? There's something wrong with us. There's something wrong with us as a society that we're allowing so much BS to be passed off as reality.
Yeah, it's so infuriating when you see such dumb stories on the news. I remember when people were taking, there was a story, I don't know if you remember on the news, this husband had gotten COVID and he took fish tank cleaner to cure, what are you doing? What are we doing here? Why are you taking fish tank cleaner? You're not a fish. You're not a tank.
Well, we had a president not so long ago that was suggesting drinking bleach or something else, or shining a light up your butt, and people that just, hey, let's follow him. We like him. He says it like it is, and
But to go back to the Clone Wars and talk about that, Pong, what is one of your favorite moments recording as Pong Krell, or what is one scene that really stuck out?
And it didn't have a lot of lines, but when Pong Krell, just before he's captured, the battle scenes where he is whooping ass. He is bouncing. He's got his forearms and his two lightsabers, double-sided lightsabers, and he is just whooping clone booty. And then, of course, a little subterfuge and he gets caught. But that was a badass scene. I really enjoyed doing that scene. Even though it wasn't a lot of dialogue, it was pretty much efforts, some laughs, and a few lines in between.
That's funny, because I remember seeing a comment that you say that. I remember seeing a comment on a YouTube video where they were like, the voice actor must have had a ton of fun just laughing and killing all the clones and breaking the...
I really was. Yeah,
Pong Krell is a very powerful Star Wars character. Darth Vader versus Pong Krell.
Oh my. That never happened, and I'm not much into hypotheticals, but just since I played Pong Krell. and he was, in so many ways, he was a very Darth Vader-like character.
Were you a fan of the movies before doing any of this?
Oh my God, yes. Oh my God, yes.
That's good. Love those movies.
You know, early in my career, my agent sold me as a young James Earl Jones. Luke, you are my son. One of the first jobs I did was for Disney doing Darth Vader sound alike. And they put me in the studio to, Luke, you are my son. We are speaking like this. But they gave me a coffee jar. And you, they said, yeah, put it just under your lip, and the echo would come out. You would get the echo, that effect that James Earl Jones had on his voice doing it. Luke, you are my son. You will be killed at dawn. Come to the dark side. You know.
That's so cool. James Earl Jones hasn't really done Darth Vader as much. I mean, they give that to people like Scott Lawrence and Matt Sloan. But I'd love to hear you come back as Darth Vader and do something.
Well, you know what? If they offer me the gig, I'll say yes. I promise. I promise. But you know what? I love playing iconic characters, but I'll tell you what I love too. Playing a character like a Lee Everett, who has become an iconic character. Zawavari, well, he was in the comics, but for the first time, I get to play him in War for Wakanda. So to be able to give voice to this character for the first time, that really is something. And as much as I'm happy to do any characters that have been out there and redo, I've played the number that have been played by other people. Getting a character that's new, that hasn't been voiced before, is probably one of the most exciting things to do.
I could imagine. And now I guess we can switch into Marvel talk with Zawavari for Black Panther. Recently came out. Congrats on that.
Thank you so much.
People are loving it around the world. People are giving it high praises because of the story and just the voice acting. I can't wait to get my hands on it. But some fans might not know, this is not your first time in the world of Wakanda. You actually played King T'Chaka in Ultimate Avengers 2. So how is it like coming back to the wonderful world of Wakanda?
Well, you know, it's great. You know, sometimes when you play a character in a particular world, anytime there's something new in that world, you kind of feel a little ownership that, hey, I'm supposed to. So my first thought would have been to come back and play that character again, play T'Challa's father again if they brought his character out. But that didn't happen. But I got also a very good part. And once again, we saw Zawavari in the comics. He had not been in the movie. He had not been in the Marvel Avengers, but now he is. And he's a very cool character as the magician, the witch doctor, the master of the old ways, who no one knows how old he is. And he's been an advisor and magician for the Black Panthers for several generations. And sometimes he just, I'm sick of y'all, I'm gone. And he'll be gone for, a year or 10.
Zawavari is a very interesting character. I've seen some of the voice clips you did. Amazing accent you did for the voice. How did you come up with the voice for him?
Well, you know what? We had a dialect coach, so good. She worked on the movie, and she worked on it. So she was there for the sessions, at least part of every session, to keep us honest in that South African Zulu accent. I do a lot of accents, and typically when I'm doing an African accent, I'm doing something Nigerian. You're from Nigeria, you're doing that one. But the South African accent is a little different. So it was a challenge, and I've done a lot of press with several of the other actors. And the one thing we bring up all the time is Beth McGuire and her keeping us honest. It's one as an actor, you give that take and you know, oh yeah, that was the one. Got hit it all in there. Yeah, that's that. I believe everything about that. But then you go and Beth. Is there anything that needs to get changed there? And you get, oh, the way you said that, you need to hit that, or so it was a challenge. It was a challenge, but it worked out well.
If they were ever to bring back Zora Vari and like dive into his story, is there any story aspect you would like to see from his past or present?
Wow. Well, not knowing as much about him other than what we did and the fact that uh, he is a character in the comics that is very mysterious. Um, I'd like to know where he goes when he leaves the side of Black Panther. What is he doing when he's not there?
Have you seen the Black Panther movie?
Please. Several times.
Just want to make sure. Just want to make sure.
Oh, God, yeah. I think I saw it 2 or 3 times in the first couple of weeks it was out.
Wow. It's such a great movie. And
oh, man.
Chadwick
on so many levels. On so many levels.
Chadwick really brought that to T'Challa, and may he rest in peace.
Yeah, God bless him. God bless him.
Now let's go into the fun part of our interviews called Weird and Wacky, where you have 1 minute to answer a series of weird and random questions. No one has gotten to 15 questions, although the championship title holder, Simon Norfleet, has answered a record of 14 questions in 1 minute. Do you think you can beat him today?
Oh, well, I'm kind of long-winded, so probably not. But what's the prize if you win? A new Mercedes, a Tesla,
yeah, man, a Tesla, a Mercedes, a new house, a big mansion, all for you. All for you.
A trip around the world. But wait, there's more.
All right, so I'm going to start the timer in 3, 2, 1. Longest time period without taking a shower.
2 days.
A food you almost threw up after eating.
Eggs.
Favorite pizza topping.
Pepperoni.
Food you refuse to cook.
Eggs.
Favorite dialect you've done for a video game.
Jamaican.
How tall are you?
5'11".
Favorite movie franchise growing up.
Star Wars.
Dumbest thing you did as a kid.
Jumped off the house with an umbrella playing parachute.
Dumbest thing you've done recently.
Oh boy, dumbest thing I've done recently. Ran out to get my dogs and I didn't have my pants on. It was night and I didn't think anybody'd see me.
Current thing you're watching.
Current thing I'm watching. Ted Lasso.
Favorite genre of music.
R&B.
Favorite musician.
Oh, Jimi Hendrix.
Favorite brand of shoes.
Ah.
Favorite brand of shoes.
Favorite brand of shoes, Nike.
Dang. 13 questions, so you were almost there. Almost there. But hey, you still did better than the average. You usually people get 8 or 9, so you did fantastic. But now, Dave, I'm going to ask my final question. Just before I ask you, I'd just like to say it's been a huge honor just getting to chat and joke and laugh with you and just getting to know your insight in the industry. It's such a humbling person as someone who takes inspiration from you as a young Black actor who wants to get into this industry. It's such a huge honor, and thank you so much again. I really hope you've enjoyed your time here. But my final question to you is, what is your current message to the world? You're given a microphone and you're being able to tell the world something that they will all hear. Obviously, we're living in a global pandemic and things are happening around the world. What would you say to people around the world?
I would say we're much more the same than we are different. We eat different foods. We might dress different. We might be in different colors, but we all want the same thing: peace, love, security, joy for our children, and a better life. That's what I'd say.
Absolutely. Dave, is there anything you want to plug or promote before we head out?
Well, just follow me on Twitter at Dave Fennoy. Also here on Instagram at Dave Fennoy. I promise I'm going to start posting more stuff on Instagram. If you are a voice actor and you'd like to take voiceover lessons with me, visit my website, davefennoy.com. You can sign yourself up. And if you sign up, you'll find out where I'm teaching, also projects I'm working on, and you can kind of keep up with Dave Fennoy and all things in the world of Fennoy.
You also have a podcast of your own that I didn't know about. You have a little
Oh, you
Facebook
know, I did.
Live
Yeah.
you do.
On Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, I do Ask Dave Fennoy Anything. We talk voiceover. I bring on other voice actors and agents and directors, and I interview them. Kind of, I'll be playing your part there. I interview them, and the audience gets to ask questions as well, and with the idea of helping people interested in voiceover become better voice actors.
Awesome. You guys definitely go check that out. Dave is doing a phenomenal job over there as well. His voice acting chops obviously carries over to anything he does, so he does a great job over there. All right, thank you guys so much for joining. Have an amazing day, and I hope to see you all soon. Thank y'all. Bye.
Bye, everybody.